Welcome to another episode of the Adams State Football Podcast. I'm your host, AJ Webb, former defensive lineman. If you tuned into our last episode with current head coach Levi Gallas, you heard him extend an offer to participate in the First and Goal Banquet on July 24th and the Dr. Jeff Geiser Golf Tournament on July 25th, 2026. As a self-appointed storyteller of the Adams State football program, it seemed like an opportune time to share the legend, former head coach, athletic director, and professor, Dr. Jeff Geiser. Coach Gallas and Coach Geiser eat lunch together on a regular basis here in Alamosa, and Coach Geiser was kind enough to agree to a sit-down with me. In this interview, we unpack his playing journey from Levita standout to CU Buffalo record holder. He talks about his first coaching years and the good fortune that led him to Alamosa, where he spent decades as a coach, professor, and athletic director. By the end of the interview, it should be clear why honoring Coach Geiser's contributions by naming the most important alumni engagement events after him was a major priority for our current coach, Coach Levi Gallas. And now, an Adams State Football Podcast interview with the head coach with the longest tenure and most wins in Adams State football program history. He's an RMAC champion, a national title contender, a Hall of Famer, the legendary leader of men, Coach Dr. Jeff Geiser.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Adams State Football Podcast. We have a special episode for you today featuring the legendary Coach Dr. Jeff Geiser. Dr. Geiser is among the most influential figures in Adams State football history, which is why we chose to name our annual fundraiser the Dr. Jeff Geiser Golf Tournament. Our First and Goal Banquet will be held on Friday, July 24th, with the Dr. Jeff Geiser Golf Tournament being held the following day on July 25th. The tournament will be held here in Alamosa, Colorado at Cattails Golf Course. You can register for this event by following the show notes on this episode. I know your summers are busy, so if you can't make it out or get it onto your calendar, there's a few other ways you can support the program. You could sponsor a team or you could sponsor a whole. Thanks again for listening to this episode of Adams State Football Podcast, and go Grizz.
Dr. Geiser, the mic is hot, and before we start talking about Adams State football, I have serious business to talk with you first. Did you get your tags in, and are you hoping to draw any big units for the fall of 26?
Well, I'm an avid archery hunter, so I don't have to draw for archery elk.
Right.
Okay, so that I look forward to that. And I did draw a rifle antelope out.
Congratulations.
In around Lamar, the old stomping grounds. I got a cousin that has a big ranch out there. So.
Did it take you long to accumulate? Is that a unit where it takes some
No, not
points?
really. Antelope's pretty prominent. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a really hard draw.
Well, I'm saving up my elk points. I'm hoping to get a 76 tag here in the next couple of years. Have you had a chance to hunt out in 76 yet?
Don't need to.
Don't need to, all right.
I own up on Levita Pass.
Oh, great.
Private land, surrounded by the Trinchera.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine has a claim up on top up there, and so I've got access to a great area. I've done quite well, too.
Good for you.
I've got one bull that's in the Pope and Young book.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that's the
archery.
record books for archery. Yeah. Well, we may need to start a hunting podcast after this, because that's where you and I have had a couple of interactions shooting the rubber targets out with the Tres Piedras. Is it Tres Piedras? Yeah, the bow club.
Yeah.
And so this podcast is all about talking to past coaches, players, people affiliated with the Adams State football program, giving them an opportunity to tell their stories. And as much as I kind of paint it as this thing that's for everyone else, a bunch of it's for me, right? So I'm a freshman in 2005. I meet you basically right off the jump. A larger than life figure comes and welcomes us. As freshman at Adams State, I got to sit in Carson Auditorium, where you came in and you spoke to the team, and you talked about your experience here. You told us about the epic '88 run to the national championship, and I want to get into a bunch of those things, but I want to start from the beginning, which is typically a good place to start. Where were you born?
Well, I was born in Walsenburg when we lived in Levita, grew up in Levita, and I was the youngest of 8 kids.
Wow.
I had 6 older brothers and a sister, and I was the youngest. And my dad had a trucking business there in Levita, and that evolved from gas rigs to I remember his first diesel he brought home in 1962. He drove it up there to the ranch to north of Levita, and my brother Joe and I get in it. It had a bed in it.
All right.
Wait a minute, Joe, this thing's got a bed.
Uh-huh.
We were so excited. We slept in it that night. But my dad was a trucker, and then in about mid-'60s, him and Herb Green, everything was regulated back in those days. You had to have a permit to haul for hire. And here in Alamosa, a guy by the name of Malcolm Stewart had a permit for the entire state of Colorado. It was worth a lot of money.
Okay.
And Dad contacted his friend and founder, Herb Green, and they went together and bought out that permit and created G&G Trucking, Geiser and Green.
Okay.
And that's when 3 of my brothers moved here to Alamosa.
Oh, wow.
So we've had a large connection here to Alamosa and so forth over the years in the San Luis Valley. So, but a lot of cattle. My dad and my brothers hauled a lot of cattle. They don't put diapers on cattle. So
Okay.
Guess who had to clean out those cattle?
Probably
pens?
the youngest.
The youngest.
Yeah.
Exactly. I made my decision at that point. Is I'm not going to be a truck driver. I'm going to college and I'm going to get a degree.
Yeah, something about those, tough jobs. So I helped resurface parking lots in the Phoenix area.
Oh my God.
And so we're talking start at 4 o'clock, get on this job, and so that was always a motivating factor for me to finish my degree here at Adams State, not because that's not noble work, but because it's real tough, and I don't know if I have the heart for shoveling, scraping, crack filling. So it sounds like you spent probably quite a bit of time coming back and forth from Walsenburg and Alamosa, so this is a place that was familiar to you as a young person?
we had family here, and when I graduated from the University of Colorado, I was fortunate to get the job at Walsenburg, head football job, and social studies teacher, and 3 years there at John Mall Walsenburg High School, and had some pretty success. My 3rd year, we got beat in the semifinals of the state playoffs, won the conference.
And so this is your playing or your coaching?
This is my coaching.
Your coaching. Well, I want to hear about your playing career because I got some CU Buffaloes talk that I need to bring up. So over in Levita, when did you first start playing football? When did you first start playing sports?
In Levita High School, they're 8-man.
Okay.
And so freshman year. So 1967, freshman year, and then I was a sophomore in '68. And we achieved something. Now, Levita had a great history. My brothers played for the state champion, won the state championship in '59.
Oh, wow.
Brothers played for the state championship in '60 and '61. So great tradition there in Levita in football.
And then you got your big brothers looking up to you, too.
Yeah, and so where was I going with this? But Levita, it was just I was very fortunate in my senior year going into my senior. Oh, I know what I was going to say. We achieved something in '68 no other team had ever achieved. We lost every game.
Well,
okay,
that's unfortunate.
Well, they only had one senior.
Okay.
So they let the coach go, and 2 coaches came in, and I would not be sitting here right now if it weren't for these 2 coaches, Jess Potter and Roger Bernelli.
Shout out Jess Potter. Shout out Coach Roger
Bernelli.
Roger Bernelli.
Yeah.
What did they do?
Well,
it sounds like
took,
they had an impact on you.
Well, they did. They took a team that hadn't won a game and took us all the way to the state semis. So.
That's impressive. How about so? I was unfortunately a part of an Apache Junction football team my junior year where we went 0-11.
Oh.
And
I hate that we have that in common.
I wish we didn't, right? But the next year we eke out a couple of wins, and then the year after that, they're off to the playoffs for the first time in a very, very long time. So I was the midpoint in like a 3-year type of a turnaround. But those coaches, my coach Max Ragsdale, he came in, and not only did he start getting us right as far as ball was concerned, but he started getting us right as young men and players. So what was that, what were the other factors outside of the X's and O's that those high school coaches brought you?
Well, number one, they brought a weight program.
Okay.
We didn't have weights. And so they brought in a weight program, and they instilled in us that will to win and the work it takes to become a champion. And I wouldn't be sitting here with you now if it hadn't been for those two. And so we had great teams my junior and senior year. Did well in basketball. We had the tournament here in Alamosa. Here on campus. And
So you played football, you played basketball.
Oh, yeah.
What else did you play?
Track.
Track?
Well, again, a small school, you do them all.
Right. Got to share everybody. No single sport athletes.
Yeah.
What were your events in track?
Well, I did the 100 and the relays and shot in the disc.
There we go.
Yeah.
Pretty close to
Well, again, we were a small school, so you did it all. And I gotta mention one more thing. I met my wife in first grade in Levita, Nancy Bailey. We were in first grade together. I teased the heck out of her, and then about her freshman year, she changed. She got pretty cute. So we started dating, and then we've been married 50 years, or 51 years exactly.
We'll put a pin in that because I want to get to some of your outdoor recreation. I want to talk about the Dancing Nancy, your boat, but we got to put a pin in that because I want to know how you make your way to CU. So it sounds like your team it's a smaller team, but y'all are crushing it. You're doing some innovative things, especially for the time as far as the weights and stuff like that. How is it that you make your way to CU? Did you have other schools?
Well, there were other schools. All the Rock Mountain Athletic Conference schools, Adams State, for example. But at the time, you got to realize Division I football at the time could offer 55. They could have 115 on scholarship.
Oh wow!
And so they had a lot more scholarships to offer. I know I was a risk, but I had a good friend there that I worked on his ranch, John Albright.
Okay.
And he had a ranch there in Levita, and I bucked bales during the summer and worked for him. And John Albright actually was a friend of Eddie Crowder. Okay. Eddie Crowder was the head coach at Colorado.
Okay.
He put in a good word for me. And next thing I know, they asked me up for a visit.
Great.
I had no idea they were going to offer me a scholarship. But I go up to Colorado, and I did the visit, and I was asking around some of the other recruits, and Jeff, they didn't bring you up here if they're not going to offer you a scholarship.
Wow.
I thought I was going to be a walk-on. As for CSU had only offered me a walk-on opportunity up at Lord Collins. And I went to Coach Crowder's office, and he said, we're going to offer you a scholarship everything's paid for, tuition, fees, room and board, books, and $15 a month. And so Eddie Crowder comes to Levita, Colorado to sign me. Can you get that? I mean, Eddie Crowder, head coach of the University of Colorado.
What did that mean for your school? Did y'all have any type of...
I don't know if they realized the impact. I think a lot of people thought that I was getting it over my head, that I should. A lot of my brothers now. I got
doubters, huh?
I got 6 brothers, and some of them are saying, Jeff, you need to go to a school like Adams State where you know you're going to play. I think you're getting in over your head going from 8-man football to University of Colorado.
To the big time.
Well, yeah. And so, but I knew I was always wanted to play for the Buffaloes. And I to this day, I owe so much to Eddie Crowder and coaches that I got there that really made my life.
Sounds like you had that set in your mind that that's where you wanted to go, and you got the opportunity, and everything worked out. Were there any other schools that were close, backup plans almost? No.
And the thing is that I remember my first day in practice. The varsity in 1971, by the way, it did pretty well.
Okay.
That was the year they finished number 3 in the nation behind Nebraska and Oklahoma, if you remember. Yeah. So Colorado in the final poll was number 3. That was when I was a freshman. Freshmen weren't eligible in 1971. The NCAA said you're not eligible, so we had a freshman team, a freshman coach. Our first practice, we go out, and they'd been practicing for like 2 weeks, and we show up on the first day, and we're walking out there, and they're all chanting, fresh meat, fresh meat. And then what do? They put us in an Oklahoma drill. Woo. Okay, so they took us freshmen, defensive guys over against the offensive lineman, and you got a running back there, and I'm up against this offensive lineman, and he fires out at me. What do? I just stepped aside, went and made the tackle.
Olay.
Yeah. And I'm thinking they're gonna be applauding me. Geiser! They were screaming at me. Coach Martin, my linebacker coach, Rocky Martin, you got to take on the block. What do you mean take on a block? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And so Coach Martin would take me up after practice and work with me on reading the head and striking with a flipper, forearm at the time. It wasn't hands, it was flipper.
Teaching the techniques
Take
at the
on
time.
a block and fight the pressure. And so I didn't have any bad habits because I didn't have any habits.
Okay.
Because in 8-man football, I never took on a block, just went and made the tackle. And so I owe so much to Rocky Martin.
Well, yeah. Well, and it sounds like some of them techniques you learned worked out for you because you have a pretty strong career there. Not only do you make the team and you get a scholarship, but you also seem to be a key player. Per my research, a captain, and you go to the CU website, you're listed 5 times, right? And so a lot of that has to do with a game against Kansas State and a tight contest in 1973. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And so that's where 25 assisted tackles, 30 total tackles, and you're still on the record books for single game tackles.
Well, thank you for that. I'm awful proud of the record, but I would trade it in a second for the win. Let me tell you why. Because we were 5-5 going into that game against Kansas State. Eddie Crowder was the man that I've already told you changed my life, gave me an opportunity that no one else would. And I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for Eddie Crowder. And we were 5-5. We needed to win that game to finish 6-5. And so it was one of those games where the offense turned the ball over, and I ended up, making 30 tackles and setting a record.
November, right? So probably pretty chilly.
Well, yeah, and it still stands. But as soon as that game was over, Eddie Crowder, that following Monday, resigned as the head football coach of the University of Colorado and moved into the athletic directorship. And that was going to be my senior the next year, and that's when Bill Mowry came in. But so I owe so much to Eddie, and I just, the record's nice, but I would trade it right now for a win. If we'd have won that game, maybe everything would have been different.
Well, when I looked up, I was like, well, I know he had 30 tackles. I know that's a lot of tackles. And I looked it up. It was a 14-7 game, so it was a tight game. I not knowing the history of CU, I was pleased to not look up that it was a 65-0 trouncing or anything like that, where you're hanging on for your life and getting those 30 tackles. But it was a tight contest, and I don't know. That probably says to hear like that's a big accomplishment to at that size of a school get that record, and to hear you say you'd trade it in a heartbeat for a win. I mean, I think we'll see some patterns that reemerge through here. So you have to go through a college coaching transition, kind of like Adams State's going through right now. What was it like transitioning from head coach in a system to now you're a senior, a lot like Bill Stone, who's got a new guy coming in and a bunch of stuff to figure out, and tick-tock, you got one more fall left.
Well, they brought in Bill Mowry.
Okay.
Bill Mowry came to us. They were hired. He was hired as our head coach. And if you remember, Miami of Ohio was called the cradle of coaches. Remember?
Okay.
Because so many head coaches got used Miami of Ohio as a stepping stone to other D1 jobs. Well, that was Bill Mowry.
Okay.
So here we got on one extreme Eddie Crowder, businesslike, rarely yelled, rarely got excited, very businesslike coach. And Mowry was a madman.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was like total opposite. He comes in, he's fire and brimstone. I remember the night before our first game, we always had a team, we watched the movie, and then Coach Mowry would talk. Well, the first game that Coach Mowry did this on, he's up in front of our team, we watched the movie, and he just starts talking about the next day's game. And he's got a suit jacket on, and he had punched the wall that week because a reporter asked him something about if we were going to see, and he hit the wall and broke his hand, so he's got a cast over his right hand. And he's up there pacing back and forth in front of the team, and he started to get overheated, and he's screaming and yelling, and he goes to take off his suit coat and gets off his left arm, and then he gets to the right arm. He can't get that damn coat off his sleeve. He rips the damn sleeve out of his suit coat. And that sleeve's hanging off his right arm, and he's still up there screaming. And all of us wanted to laugh.
Yeah, you're just holding it together.
We killed.
Yeah.
And then he stops yelling and storms out of the room, and then the whole place erupted.
Something about those pre-game talk to the team type deals. There's a lot of emotion that can come out of coaches. I had an experience with one of our coaches smashing some fruit, kind of like Gallagher, asking us what our goal was, and wow. So you experienced the transition. Now you finish your college career, but that's not the end of football for you, is it? Did you go in?
Well, that senior year in the fourth game in the first series against Iowa State, the quarterback dropped back to pass. I dropped back into coverage, and the quarterback scrambling, and I'm coming up to make the play. And Luther Blue, who's a receiver, took me out of my left knee, I felt something give, and I got to the sideline and the doctor was checking it. It was fairly loose, and so I, stood and watched our team beat Iowa State that day. And then after the game, again, doctor checked it, and they said, "Well, we better check you on Monday." And it had tightened itself up on Monday, but I missed 2 games. I think, Oklahoma the next week, and I forget the next one. And I came back after missing 2 games against Nebraska. I had a really good game. I was almost 100% again. And I'm a senior linebacker. And to this day, I still question who made the call that they put me out there at full pads in practice. I mean, I'm a senior linebacker. I know my reads. Put me in a red shirt. Let me just get ready. And I got hurt in practice. And then it just kept getting worse and worse. And then we finished that season. And then afterwards, I go to the team doctor. Now, don't laugh at this. Our team doctor's name was Charlie Brown.
I'm sorry, you told me not to. I couldn't help it.
So I go to Dr. Brown. I said, "Well, listen, Dr. Brown, is my knee going to pass an NFL physical? Because I think I got a chance to get drafted or to get a shot." And he said, "Yeah, you should be. Just rehab." And I did. I rehabbed the hell out of it. And the draft comes in February, and I was by the phone all day, and it never rang. And that was the day they had what was it, 20-some rounds, I forget. And the second day it didn't ring. And then as soon as the draft was over, my phone starts ringing. Okay. And Kansas City, Denver. And so I went ahead and I committed to Kansas City. They sent out a coach and signed me into a contract, gave me, I think it was $1,000 signing bonus. At the time, that was pretty good. And then the next week, they fly me out to Kansas City, and they go in, and the team doctor looks at the knee and says, "You got some work to do on this." And again, I'm a free agent. They don't have any money invested in me other than $1,000. And so, if I'd have been a first-round pick where they just $50,000,
they said, "We're going to get you to the doc, and we're going to take care of you."
So they said, "We can't pass you on the physical." So then that's when they sent me home. I called Coach Maurer. I says, "Coach Maurer, I guess I need to do my student teaching. Can I get back and coach? Can I help you?" And he put me back on scholarship. I did my student teaching, coached the freshman linebackers, and then as soon as the season was over, I went in and did the surgery. And when they went in, there was a lot more damage. They realized the medial collateral was stretched, the anterior cruciate was torn, the cartilage was torn, and so it was a complete reconstruction. They call it a Nichols 5-in-1, and I'm cut from here to here. and then I was going down with the Denver Broncos that had signed with them, and I was asking that when you get to that point in the spring where jobs are coming up, and I'm graduating, I asked him. I said, "Listen, I got to know, am I going to pass the physical? Because if I don't pass it, I got to get a job." He says, "Jeff, if we had a lot of money invested in you, we'd probably pass you, but since you're a free agent, no." And that was a sign for me to go ahead and get into coaching, and that's okay. Maybe the good Lord was looking out for me. You're familiar with the CTE stuff.
Yes.
Who knows that if I'd have played, that I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be sitting here with you. I don't even know who you are. Who know who my wife is.
There's quite a few lives on the Adams State campus that would be a whole lot different.
Well,
so there's a plan out there, and it's not always our responsibility to understand it.
So I started to look for jobs, and I got the job at Walsenburg John Mall my coaching career was wonderful. I made so many great friends and contacts. I get letters to this day and emails, and so coaching is a special profession from that sense.
Did you study coaching? What was your undergraduate in?
Well, my undergraduate was in physical education with an emphasis in it, and then education was my minor.
Gotcha. Okay. So had you worked your way through like kind of the mental part of, okay, playing if playing doesn't work, teaching and coaching, like that was what you were going to be. Okay.
Yeah. So 3 years at Walsenburg, 5 years at Grand Junction, and when I was in Grand Junction, I got my master's at Western. You know, and there's our big rivalry, but
right.
It was convenient for me to go from Gun.
We forgive you.
And then got here to Adams State in '84.
Yeah, it's not just 3 years and 3 years. Those were pretty successful years. At John Mall, I think you took some Santa Fe League.
Well,
titles.
we won the conference my third year there.
Great.
We were there 3 years, and we got to the state semis. We had a really good team. Young man by the name of David Harriman, who still owns the records there for rushing records. But really, you know, in Walsenburg, just they love football, and it was a great job.
It's a tough town. There's some tough people.
It
there.
is. And then Grand Junction. I mean, what can you say about being the largest school in the Western Slope, the Grand Junction Tigers, and then that opened up the doors here for me to come to Adams State.
Tell us a little bit about that. So now, you're given the opportunity to stay on scholarship, finish your education, get your teaching hours, get your knee right, not quite NFL right, but get right. Start coaching in Walsenburg, make your way over to Grand Junction, and tell me about the networking, the things that happened that got you the role here in Adams State.
Well, I think the network was with Dr. Ulrich, because again, Dr. Ulrich had spoke at our athletic banquet when I was in high school at Levita. He knew of me, kind of followed me when I was at Walsenburg and at Grand Junction. So he knew of me. Also, there was a young man named Don Price. Don was kind of like an adopted brother for us in Levita. There was 8 in our family, and Don's mom and dad moved out to Levita because Louise's sister was my oldest brother Johnny's, Nola, her sister. So they moved out. Don Price is this little kid, and he almost grew up with us. He was almost like another brother. And so he called me when the Adams job opened.
Okay.
He was in Levita. He said, Jeff, the Adams job just opened. So that's the next day I called Dr. Ulrich, and here we sit now.
There we go. Well, and at that time, so you correct me, so the jump from high school to college probably helped that you had your college experience, your lived experience as a player, but there's probably some more similarities probably at the Division II level, because I'm going to assume that your coaching role also required that you do some teaching.
Oh, yeah.
Was that accurate?
Teach, yeah.
So was it like similar, like, just turned it in?
Had to teach 6 hours, not a full load.
So not a full load, but you essentially go, and you coached and taught at the 9, 10, 11, 12, and now you get a little bit of the 13, 14, 15, 16.
Right. But a man that was really instrumental in that whole process was Bob Cortez. Bob Cortez was a Colorado grad. He was like in the 60s. And Bob Cortez had been a high school coach, but then he was now the coach at Mesa State.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So when my season was over in 1983, we didn't make the playoffs at Junction. He was in the playoffs. He called me over and said, Jeff, I want you to come over and help us during the playoffs.
Oh, wow. So you got to coach at Mesa during the playoffs.
When I was at Grand Junction High School.
Okay.
And that was a tremendous experience. And Mesa made it to the national championship game. Played it in Grand Junction against Carson Newman. Great.
Well, Carson Newman will come back to that.
Yeah, and so then when the Adams job opened up, Bob was one of my references.
Okay.
And it just kind of all fell into place. And here we are.
And so you were familiar with the area. You weren't coming in sight unseen. So and you had some network through the administration. What was the your first priorities? You were retaining players. I know you make a call to Bill Stone pretty early in that process, right? Tell
Bill,
us about your first days.
Well, Bill was my predecessor ran the split back veer. Okay, Bill was a fullback. He was a fullback in an I formation, robust by God. And when I got the job, Dr. Ulrich pulled me in his office and says, Jeff, here's Bill Stone's telephone number. You need to call him because he didn't come back. And so I called him that night, introduced myself, and, of course, what was his first question out of his mouth? Well, Coach Geiser, what kind of offense you run? I had to explain to him what robust is. You familiar with robust?
Bill told me a little bit about it, right? And so that was Joel Swisher that you inherited the program from, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he said, and that was Joel that said you got to get a hold of Bill Stone, and then you guys start talking X's and O's and whether or not he's going to.
Well, it was Dr. Ulrich.
Oh, Dr. Ulrich,
the athletic director, because Joel Swisher had moved on.
Got it. Uh-huh.
And so I called Bill, and so again, it was fortunate circumstances for me in my career that Bill Stone still had another year of eligibility, because when you look at the record books at Adams State football, look who owns the rushing record for single season rushing record. It's Bill Stone. Most programs, that record is held by a tailback, a halfback, a single back that they're feeding the ball. Bill Stone was a fullback. Everything up inside the tackles. And you know who also bought into Bill Stone was the offensive lineman. Because what offensive lineman, they want to come off the ball and hit that guy across in the face and knock him off the ball. Well, that's robust. And so they bought into it, and we didn't run it all the time. You know, we were I formation.
Right.
Okay, still had the fullback belly, the trap, and all that for Stone out of the eye, and our passing game and all that stuff that you do in the affirmation. But so many times when things weren't going well, I've got offensive linemen coming off to the sideline. Tell that SOB to run robust. They bought in. They wanted it.
Well, that's a special. That's a special thing that I've seen between different groups of players and the players that are special and the players that are good teammates. I look at the relationship between, our nose guards and middle linebackers, between, Ernesto Villasenor and Jason Seymour, and between Josh Teeples and Oscar Villa and Danny Dyson. Like, when, players kind of have that chemistry and that relationship and that trust in one another, they start advocating for, one another to get the ball or to be the one who's, the blitz is designed for. And that's, some of the magic on football teams. It's a really cool thing to see.
Yeah. Well, and, we were basically one game away from winning the conference. It was actually Fort Lewis and us. Okay. We played Fort Lewis at Gary Barnett. You remember Gary Barnett, who ended up at the University of Colorado as an assistant coach. He had left there the year before and left it to Bill Cook. Okay. They were good. They had really good recruits, and you can recruit to Durango, Colorado.
Yeah, that's a beautiful place.
Yeah, and so we ended up playing Fort Lewis for the conference championship in '84, and we ended up losing that game by 5 points there at their place. I mean, it was like 34-29 or something like that.
I have some specific rivalry questions, but can you tell me a little bit about what were your priorities coming in? So I mentioned the Bill Stone because you want to retain some of the players, and I'm kind of thinking about Coach Gallas and the position that he is in now. What were the cultural elements that you were trying to establish? Like, what were the things that you needed to get done for you to be successful as you were those first months, days, years here on campus?
Well, I sensed that we weren't very tough mentally. Okay. And to this day, I still have players tell me that those practices my first year were the tough. Now I've got guys who like Bill Stone who played the NFL, and I've had
he
several
mentioned
players.
How difficult 2 days were. And camp and practices.
Yeah. Well, and that's a thing. You go in super hard as a coach, and you can get easier. You can't go the other way. You can't go in Mr. Easy, and then all of a sudden, well, by God, we got to get tough. No. And so if I was going to err, I was going to err on the side that I was too damn tough. And so we worked him. We really did. I mean, we had a lot of guys that dropped out. We called them midnight creepers. They'd go to the training table that night, and the next morning they weren't here. They were gone. And and again, that's a testament to the young men in the program. They were tired of being labeled losers. They wanted to be successful. Yeah. And
you get that mix of group where the status quo is acceptable, but then you get someone coming in. I remember when Coach Heaton had come back for my junior and senior year, the off-season conditioning was brutal, and it probably wasn't as brutal as the stuff you made those guys do because they have laws against it now, but it was tough. And the midnight creeping happens, right? Where, hey, where's so-and-so? Oh, they packed up and went back to California. They went back to Arizona. They went back to Denver. They go back to these places. So you had to weed them out.
Yeah, we did. And I'm so proud of the '84 team because they really are a fine bunch of men, and I still have contact with most of those seniors, and so it was a good time. It really was.
So you mentioned I'm sure you got tons of stories about the Western games, the Western New Mexico games, all these, the Mesa games. They're all there's all special. I can remember, the games that I was a part of. Do you have a rank order of I don't use the word hate anymore, but the one that you would consider, the biggest rival, or like how do you stack them up as far as Well,
there's several of them, but the one obviously has to be key was the semifinals of the 1988 playoffs here in Alamosa. Mm-hmm. In '88, we went in '88. We had got our butts kicked by Mesa, 72 to 21.
Oh wow!
We were in the top. Yeah, in that year. In that year of the top 16 go to the playoffs.
Okay.
We were ranked, 12 when we played Mesa, and they kicked the crap out of us here in Alamosa. We fell out to 17, and then we still had to go to one more game. I think it was Fort Lewis. And when we got back over the pass and got home, we beat Fort Lewis that day. I told the guys, listen, the final rankings come out tomorrow morning, and if nobody in the top 16 lost, we're going to be checking in our gear on Monday. Mm-hmm. So the papers come out on Sunday, or we check the news feed, and no other team in the top 16 had lost. So our season was over.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that our players had one of the biggest parties of their career.
Yeah.
I think Union Picnic, they called it. So I'm at my home chilling on Sunday night, and I get a call from the conference commissioner. And she said, listen, here's the development. A team out east that played some ineligible players, they had to forfeit some games. They have dropped out of the top 16. You're now the number 16 team in the nation.
Uh-huh.
You're in the playoffs.
Woo.
Oh, God. Uh-huh. So now I got to get on the phone. I got to call my assistant, go get a hold of the players and tell them we have a meeting tomorrow night. And Let's
go through that season just a little bit. Is this the season, the '88 season? Is this when the legendary burial occurred?
Oh well, yeah, that had taken place.
Can you tell us what I mean by the burial?
Well, we buried the season.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what game it was. We had lost, I think, 4 straight.
Okay.
And so we were 0-4 or whatever that was, and I think that goes back to '86 season. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
And so we had to start it fresh. I had to do something. We were going to change the offense, go to the spread, wish and shoot, run and shoot, if you will. And so we when the players came in for Monday practice, we said just report to the gym, and then I told them what was going. We went out to the field.
Yeah, and put the bulletin up, get your Sunday best on.
Yeah.
We got an event that we're going to go to.
Yeah, so we go out to the practice field, and we dug a hole, and we had a gravestone there made out of wood that we put the scores of those games on. And guys, we are burying the season. My God, we're starting over. We were going to bury the offense. That's right. They had the offensive playbook in there. And we had a couple receipts from the guaranteed checks that we got by playing those teams. I'm trying to remember, Southeast Oklahoma or South. I forget who paid us money to play the games.
Right, yeah, the money games.
Yeah, and we're starting over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I like to say we went out the next week and won, but we did. We played pretty well.
Okay.
But from that burial of the season in '86, we did, get things righted and get turned around. But I was dressed up like a preacher. I had the collar and. And we played taps. Had one of our coaches that played the trumpet. He played taps, and it really is kind of a new start for us.
And then who brought in the new playbook?
Well, that was Schuett, and
was DiLorenzo a part of that?
DiLorenzo, Chris DiLorenzo. What an offensive mind! Chris and I, we played in the All-State game back in 1971 in Pueblo.
Okay.
He was our quarterback. I was a linebacker, so that's where I met Chris DiLorenzo. And when I got the job in '84, Chris was the equipment manager, and I knew that he had a great offensive mind. And so I went to him and I said, Chris, we need to get you out here. You need to be coaching. And he helped. He never got paid a penny for coaching. Wow. He was always the equipment man, and Chris and Lynn Short were huge in our success here. And so I can't say enough about them.
Well, I have for a different reason. So I wasn't coached by Chris DiLorenzo. However, I played with Rocco DiLorenzo, who was a young man who was an All-American linebacker. He was just I think he was a freshman. He played as a true freshman when I was a junior. Was a starter my senior year, so his sophomore year, and he goes on to be a stud middle linebacker, just like his old man, just like Phil DiLorenzo. Mm-hmm. And so Roxy, they're both his sisters. I had a college experience with them. So when Bill and I believe maybe Mark Manzanares were talking about Chris DiLorenzo, they had mentioned that part of the story, and so kudos to them. And even Rocco's mom, so Phil's wife, was a exceptional track runner here. So the DiLorenzos they've done a lot for Adams State.
Yeah.
So
no, the '88 season, like I said, we were the 16 seeded team, so we had to go to Emporia State on Thanksgiving weekend.
Before you tell me the playoffs, was there I recall. So Mark Manzanares had me on the edge of. Mark Manzanares had me on the edge of my chair telling me about this season, and he had mentioned, is it a tie against Western New Mexico?
Yeah, I think it was a tie.
There was a tie, and so he had brought that up and talked about, this Adams State Western New Mexico thing with these tight contests that end up meaning something. So for me, we had lost our first 5 games when Coach Heaton had come back, and we finally got our first win against Western New Mexico, and so it just seems to be one of these special. It doesn't have the trophies that the Western and the Fort Lewis game has, but this special rivalry between our MAC competitors.
Yeah.
And so that tie was pivotal in that season for you all.
Yeah, it was. Mark Manzanares, a guy that I remember the phone call to him when I was trying to recruit him, and he said, "I'm going to go to Mesa, Coach Geiser."
Out of Grants or Gallup? I forget. Grants. Okay.
And so he is the only player in the history of Adams State to have scored a touchdown against Adams State and scored a touchdown for Adams State, and not only a touchdown, many.
Way to go, Mark.
But Mark, he went to Mesa and played for 1 year there, and then. Lo and behold, I'm in my office and I get a call, and he identified himself. He says, "Coach, I'm not happy. I want to transfer. I should have come to Adams first." And then he came here, and God, great career here at Adams State. Helped us win some great games and championships, and stayed on now as a professor. I don't know what his title was.
He's been a mentor of mine. Him and I have had an opportunity to work together. He got to come in and speak to us as players too. He lifted his helmet up. I brought the war bonnet, right? So he's been an important figure for me. I have to know more about another one of your players, right? So since the day I've been here on campus, I've looked up and I've seen the retired numbers. I've watched Bobby Saez play in some of the games that are still on YouTube. Did you recruit Bobby Saez? How does he get here, and what made him so special to, still be one of the main record holders here?
Well, I'm trying to remember the initial. We sent out questionnaires like everybody does, and we get his questionnaire in, and the thing. I don't remember exactly what transpired as far as reaching out to him, but at some point we got some film on him. We liked what he did. So he was very athletic, very accurate in his passing game, and I later learned this. Of course, he shows up here, and in an exit interview, once his recruiting trip was over on the second day, and he's ready to go back to Arizona, I asked him, I go, why Adams State? He says, because he's down in
the West Valley,
yeah, where it's extremely hot. He says, "Coach, I'm going to go someplace where it's cold." Now get this. In all my years of coaching, we kind of stared away from the fact that we have some very cold weather.
Yeah, you ignore that part.
You want someplace where it's cold. Heck, we have the second coldest temperature in the history.
This is great. We're going to be best friends.
Exactly. But no, Bobby Sy, what can you say about him? And we made the offense fit him, and that run and shoot, wish and shoot, call it what you want, but you take that spread offense on our number one pass route was the slide, 60-70 slide, and you've got 3 reads off that based on what the defense does. And no matter what the defense did, they were wrong. And that was the quarterback being able to take that once he gets a pre-snap read, then takes the ball. What's the defense doing? Am I going to my hook? Am I going to my pot to post, or am I going to go to my swingman? And then if they were in a different coverage, cover 2, that all changed. All the routes changed. And if it was man, it changed. It was a great offense, and really Bobby had the mental intelligence to run that. To be able to make those decisions while you're being chased by a 6'5", 280 guys trying to take your head off.
Right.
So it was really, and the running game is very simple because there's triple option. You know, you can read the tackle, and you know if he sets, you handed that fullback. Mike Palomo was a great fullback, and if he slides down, you pull it and you go out to the second read on the part of the triple option. So it really was a great offense for Bobby Size, and I can't compliment enough Chris DiLorenzo, Lynn Schuett, the offensive coordinators that year, and Bobby Size, and what they did with that.
Well, it's a magical season. So I'll take the reins off. You know, I quit pulling the reins back. So you sneak into the playoffs and you start. Did you say at Emporia State? Tell us about that game.
Well, it was Thanksgiving weekend.
Okay.
So on Thanksgiving Day, we are on a bus. And we go east, and we stopped at the Cow Palace in Lamar, Colorado for Thanksgiving dinner.
There we go.
And I think we cleaned the place out.
I bet.
We get out to someplace in Kansas. We have a practice, and then we got a hotel there. I forget what city it was in. Then the next day we go on into Emporia, and the game was close. If I recall, that we stopped them on like the 4-yard line. If they score, they win. If we hold them, we win our first playoff game in the history of Adams State College, and we held them. And we won that first round game, and then the NAIA sent us. Southeast Oklahoma had beaten the number 1 team in the nation in their playoff game the week before, so we had to go out to Durant, Oklahoma for the playoff game.
Play a game you have no business winning.
Well, we flew. We literally flew to that game. The NAIA got tickets out of Albuquerque. We flew down to, I think it was, I'm trying to remember, it was Oklahoma City or Tulsa, and then we bussed on up and played them, and it was probably one of the best games we've ever played at Adams State. Well, we put it on them. I forget, it was like 28-7 or something like that, but we really showed then up. The NAIA had to give us a home game. See, everything in that, when you got in the playoffs, you had to submit a bid. You had to submit a bid on what your anticipated gate would be, and so you'd go out to your businesses and your corporate and the local donors, and you'd get a guarantee money. And after we won those first road games, our athletic director was able to solicit the first playoff game in the history of Adams State College right here in Rec Stadium against the Pittsburgh State Gorillas.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
And the Gorillas
right here
were
at Rec
good.
Stadium.
Yeah. And we had all kinds of signs up. Welcome to the highest college football stadium in the country.
Right.
Can't breathe.
Warning, altitude sickness.
Exactly.
Get them freaked out.
All that. And I'll be darned if we didn't win that game. I think it was like 13-7. It was a close game, but we won the semifinals, and we were in the national championship. And that in those days, you know, we played it at that time it was at Carson Newman. And so Carson Newman was good. I think they only had like 4 or 5 players drafted. They were getting players that would drop out of D1 like Alabama and Arkansas.
Okay, so they had
they
had a pipeline, huh?
And I didn't do a very good job as a defensive coordinator. First play of the game. I mean, we'd had success in the previous games by blitzing, and on the first, they're running a split back veer, and on the first damn play, we kicked off to him. The ball's on the 20. I called a blitz. And our linebacker's blitzing the B gap, and he misses the tackle on the dive, and the kid had speed. He 80 yards for first play of the game.
Yeah.
I
live
kicked
by
myself
it,
in the
live
butt
by
for
it,
that.
die by it.
Yeah, I know. So we died by it, but we lost the game, in that national championship game there at Carson Newman. But it was televised. It was a big deal.
I'm sure it was a big deal.
It was.
And I don't know that you finished that season up. Do you play the Aztec Bowl after that, or was that?
Well,
in a
that was
different
87.
year?
Yeah.
So that was 87. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. So that's going down and playing a team from Mexico, yeah?
Yeah, the Mexican All-Stars.
Uh-huh.
Well, what happened was the RMAC got a contract with the Aztec Bowl.
Oh,
the
okay.
Aztec Bowl wanted us to provide a team, the highest finishing team from the RMAC that didn't make the playoffs would represent the RMAC in the Aztec Bowl. Played in Mexico City in University Stadium, where the 1968 Olympic Games were held.
Okay.
And it was the Mexican All-Stars, and so we were the first team from the RMAC to earn that right. It was we go down, and I had to keep close tabs on the players. Just say that.
I'm sure.
We flew in on Thursday.
Okay.
And so we got 2 nights before the game, Thursday night and
Idle
Friday
hands
night.
are no good,
And
especially when you got a big bus full of knuckleheads.
Oh yeah, and so I had to be. We had to be pretty strict on something. Now here's the deal: if you win, there's no curfew.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a fair deal. That's a motivating factor right there.
Yeah. And we were going to fly back on Monday, and so on Sunday we visited the pyramids at Teotihuacan.
Wow.
The great pyramids there that the Aztecs built and all that, the culture. And all I know is that on Monday morning when we got on the plane to fly back, there were a lot of players. I don't know if they'd slept the last couple of days, but they partied excessively. You know what I mean?
Celebrated.
Yeah.
Celebrated.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Olympics. I want to talk a little bit about some of the people that you worked with while you were a head coach. So you got to work alongside Dr. Joe Vigil. You got to work alongside Damon Martin. Can you tell me what it was like being so close? I think it's a surreal thing for me to walk through there and look into Damon's office and see all those, Coach Martin's office and see all those trophies. Like, what's it like working next to a program that is establishing dominance? That's got to fuel your fire a little bit. That's got to do a bunch of things.
Well, Dr. Vigil, what can you say? I mean, the guy's one of those beautiful minds. He just was a tremendous, tremendous coach. San Luis Valley native, Adams State graduate. I mean, the guy's mind was amazing. If you ever sat in heard a lecture on exercise physiology, you would be blown away. I'm telling you, the guy was super intelligent. And what a motivator, and it was a truly, every year I look forward to having him come in and talk to our team during the preseason. And he was just one of those guys that would inspire you, okay? Now, Damon came here under different circumstances. Tom Rutledge was get this,
okay,
when Coach Shule left, and he went up to school in the Midwest. I'm trying to remember where he went to. He was our offense coordinator, and I went to our athletic director, and he said we got to hire a new coordinator, and I brought in Tom Rutledge. Well, Tom Rutledge brought in Damon Martin because they'd been together at some school in Arkansas, and what can you say about Damon? I mean, the guy, he got in Vigil's, he got a great relationship with Dr. Vigil, and it became a Dr. Vigil protege, and learned everything he could. And how many national championships has he won? What can you say?
All of them.
Exactly.
I mean, ample amount.
Yes, and Damon is just a clone of Dr. Vigil, a great mind, a great coach, evidently a great motivator, and so proud of what he's done. What's the next? Who's going to be the next one?
Great question. So again, I've been around it, walked by it, and as I've entered into my scholarly endeavors, I've watched some of Dr. Vigil's lectures, but I got a little itch on some mountaineering stuff, and he gets cited pretty frequently for his work on training people at high altitudes, and people take his work and they apply it to preparing to climb Mount Everest. It's just real surreal to be in this small little place and to be around such a dominant program, but also an influence in a domain of athletic performance.
Exactly. Yeah. We're very fortunate to have had those relationships with Coach Vigil and Coach Martin.
Can you start to tell me, so in some of this, you take a you adopt the responsibility of an interim athletic director. Was that maybe in the late 80s is the first time that you had to do that?
Well, I'm trying to remember back to how that all worked out. I was interim, and then get my thinking cap here on.
No problem. I had 86, 87 interim AD, and I'm just wondering if that was your first step into that particular role, and if that.
Well, I was associate AD, and at one time I was, charged with the fundraising, and I'm trying to remember when that all happened. But I got my doctorate from the University of New Mexico in 1992. And then after stepping down as head coach, I spent 10 years in administration in 2006. And
and that also accompanied the transition from NAIA to the NCAA. Can you tell us a little bit about that transition and what that meant? Like, what did the school have to do? Was that just was that as simple as switching the stickers on your shirt? Okay, what did that mean?
Well, the NAIA, again, we had 40 scholarships, tuition fees, and you were allowed 40. And when the NCAA came in, the RMAC decided there's no way that we could do 28 or 40 full rides, including room and board and all that. And so the RMAC came in, and when we went NCAA in 92, put us at 28.
Okay.
And so when we took the scholarship dollars that I had in football at the time, which was 40 resident tuitions and fees and jobs, that equated to 17 on the NCAA computation. Okay? And there was no way we were going to increase that unless I went out and won lotto or something like that.
Right, or you start the Grizzly Club and you start doing some fundraising. So you had to do some. You had to do some projects.
Well, they were still. Grizzly Club was already in existence. They were still fundraising, but there was no way we were going to get to 36 at the time. And again, when the RMAC went D2 in 92. They went at 28, and then every 2 years they would increase 2 to eventually get up to 40, and then since that time the NCAA adopted to 36. I still know that Coach Gallas is not fully funded here.
Right.
Okay, so again, keep playing that lotto. Let's somebody win it. Let's get them up.
Yeah, keep playing the lotto. Start writing some books and producing some bestsellers.
And a good example of this is Mines. We used to beat Mines like an ugly stepchild. Okay, I mean, really, I don't know if we'd ever lost to them. Okay, engineering majors, they were very restrictive in their recruiting, who they could recruit.
Right.
Yeah, they were very smart and so forth. Well, nowadays, who's dominating the RMAC?
They've been doing
why?
Well.
Because their engineering graduates make a hell of a lot more money than liberal arts graduates. And I hear, and I've got a nephew that played at Mines, Scott tells me that they are fully funded.
Wow.
Okay? All right, so it does, money does talk.
It's, well, and, I think back, so I came in 2005. The year prior to that was when Wayne McGinn and Coach Heaton, they had played Mines for the conference championship, and they had the number one defense in the nation, right? And it was probably 10 years later that some players that I had played with, and when they were freshmen, they had gone on and they had set the all-time Division II win-loss record at, I believe, 8-3, or maybe it was 8-4. I don't recall, and I think it was 2012 or 2013. I could be botching it. Sorry, everybody. But there's some magic that has to happen on the Adams State campus. It's kind of a decennial situation as far as the good fortune, the right players that stick around, the ball bounces, the refs miss something or get something, some way, and Dr. Tanberg, our president now, he talks about Adams State and its ability to exceed expectations, but it's an uphill battle for Adams State.
Well, it is, and again, I think that you can find out what that equivalency number is. What our scholarship number is, but there's a correlation, I believe, if you were to study the correlation between the amount of money that the scholarship equivalency numbers in the RMAC and correlate that to the success, I think you'll find a positive relationship there.
100%. Well, and what's encouraging, right? So, like, this is not a terrific picture that we've just been painting. However, you had experience in fundraising here, but you also had some experience when you transitioned to the athletic director down at Eastern New Mexico. I think they got some new stuff. Well, we'll stop right there. So I benefited from your work. I'm assuming that you got the ball rolling on it. So my junior and senior year, I had a nice new locker room, right? So tell me, did you have a hand in getting the ball rolling on the renovations to Plocky Hall in the early 2000s?
Well, I think we went to the students on that to get a student fee pass, because at that time, if my memory serves me correct, we had a student fee, a capital fee, and the students had to vote in favor of a capital fee in order to make the stadium improvements, and we politicked. We wanted the students to realize that you would be paying a little more in your student fees, but we had a plan to improve the facilities in our athletics, and they voted for it, and so that's how that all materialized.
Gotcha. Well, and that ends up being this extra thing around sports. Like, we focus on the scoreboards and things, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, like securing the funds, having the conversations, working with different presidents, right? So I would imagine that you spent quite a good, a decent amount of time working with, like, President Sivaldi, because I think he was at the helm when those renovations to Plocky Hall started happening.
Yes.
What's it mean for an athletic director to have the support and a strong working relationship with a president?
Well, it's pivotal. They've got to be a team, and they've got to be on the same page of what are the goals of the program, of the athletic department, specific teams. And so I think we got that now. Dr. Tanberg, I think we're really heading in the right direction. I mean, the guy's the next athlete here,
right?
And so I'm excited about the direction that Adams State is headed with Dr. Tanberg.
Well, that's encouraging, right? So I started in 2017 teaching here, and we had a string of adversity, but having Dr. Tanberg come back, one of the reasons that I started this podcast was in working with Ed Crowther. He had said, he had asked me in his southern way, Mr. Webb, I need your assistance. We need to generate attention. We need to reach out to the alumni, and we had done some fundraising type activities. But I started this thinking that I was going to have to figure out how to produce enough of these episodes and make them good enough, get enough people to listen, so that I could help throw funds at replacing the football field. Fortunately, Dr. Tanberg made that a moot point. Now I know it's not just him saying, we need to, fix the field. Like, Caitlin Smith's involved in that. There's a bunch of other people involved in that. But that was one of my motivating factors for starting this particular project, was we got to get some dough to fix that field. And David Tanberg made it a priority to get a good-looking, safe playing surface for our players. And that's extended through, I think that created some momentum. We got our new scoreboard back up last year through the work of Caitlin Smith and Rizzler and some of these other folks that have gone on behind the scene. Tell us a little bit about your work in Portales. That's where you hire Josh Lynn, and he hires Levi Gallas, who's now the coach here. You go down to Portales, go Hounds, and you had some work to do down there too, as far as updating that facility.
Well, I did. By the way, I like your Dr. Crowther impersonation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I was so blessed that, he was an offensive line coach, so I probably had 6 or 7 different defensive line coaches, but was around Coach Crowther, Dr. Ed Crowther, the most. So I had Mr. Webb, what's the good word? I got that on a regular basis, and it made me happy. So
one of the things that I when I was involved here at Adams State, there was a gentleman out of Pueblo. His name was Dan DeRose, and he started DeRose Marketing.
Okay.
And the Adams State hired him to come down here and work with the athletic department, and it involved signage, advertising, corporate partnerships, different levels of corporate partnership, increasing the in this case the Grizzly Club membership. And they did a remarkable job.
Great.
Okay. And so, boom, the money starts coming in, and this was from a guy who lives in Pueblo, applied it at CSU Pueblo, and did one here. Well, so I'm sitting there and I'm watching, well, anybody do that?
Okay.
Okay. So all I did was take his principles when I went to Eastern New Mexico and applied them there.
So we were talking about the DeRose whose name's on the Thunder Bowl up in Pueblo.
Yes.
So he consulted down here.
They hired him.
And then he went and did the thing up in Pueblo, got that program rebirth. And then you took that playbook on down to Portales.
Well, but he brought it here. And then I don't know, when I became AD, I'm saying, well, why do we have to pay a person in Pueblo to go out and raise money for us? I know all the business people here out in the valley. So we ended our relationship with Rose. But he was the one that really put it in place. All I had to do was go out and sell it. And so, yeah, we increased the corporate sponsorships here dramatically, even beyond what Dan DeRose had done. And then when I got the job at Eastern New Mexico, it really worked.
Well, it really worked. And when you say really worked,
Yeah.
I believe they got a whole new facility. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. You remember the stadium that we played in was halfway. Clovis was like 22 miles from Portales, and the stadium was halfway between. And out there, it's sitting by itself.
Okay.
Nice stadium, but out there in the middle, by itself, and
Not by the students.
not on campus.
Right.
Exactly. And so I was there, and we got the students realized the problem that we told them every game is a away game. I mean, your students are having to find transportation out to this 7 miles outside town, and we got them to vote for a stadium on campus through student fees, and that was the last year I was there. They voted and approved it, and then I was involved in the planning and so forth, and I got to go to the initial game there, and the stadium's on campus now. It's beautiful, and so I'm very proud of that. And of course, Levi Gallas was there with Coach Lynn when all that took place.
So Dr. Ulrich is your lead domino that gets you your coaching job here at Adams State, and you end up being part of Coach Gallas's lead domino getting into his coaching career. Because as the story goes, Coach Gallas decides he wants to coach college ball. He's on a couch here in Alamosa for a couple of weeks, getting ready to collect his $1,100 for the season from Coach Heaton, which is all he had to spare at the time. But then the resume hits Josh Lynn's desk.
Yeah.
You had hired Josh Lynn.
At Easter,
and it just so happens, I talk about the magic of the green lanyard, right? And not everyone from Adams State has a green lanyard, but I have that green lanyard, and I make sure it's hanging out of my pocket every time I'm in an airport, because someone's going to come up and ask me, hey, you from Adams State? I got my master's there, and I studied this, and I'm a teacher. But you end up being the lead domino, one of the green lanyards hanging out of a pocket, the magical Adams State network that gets Coach Gallas his first coaching gig in Portales.
Yeah. Well, again, you mentioned Josh Lynn. I mean, what a great hire that was for us. Just a great man, and did a great job for us. And then of course this connection with him and Coach Gallas, and I mean the Gallas family. I mean, like we've already talked about. I mean, his dad was a very reputable coach in Colorado, so name recognition. I look for the program really improve with Coach Gallas's leadership.
Oh, I'm excited. So he's my pal, and I was a part of the interview committee, and I had considered excusing myself for conflict of interest purposes, but Levi, I was the defensive lineman right in front of him when he was playing linebacker, and our relationship is such that we can look each other in the face and tell each other the truth. One of these magical things you get out of playing together, right?
You bet.
And when the committee unanimously agreed that he was going to be the next guy to come here, that was exciting for me because it's my friend, but it was exciting for Adams State as a program to have someone come in that understands the place, that has the lived experience of being a player here, and to also have the track record of working in Portales, a place that I don't know how it compares to Alamosa. I haven't been there, so I'm not going to render a judgment, but there's it's a maybe desolate type area, and so Coach Gallas being able to be a part of a rebuild at Eastern New Mexico and get a conference title, and be a part of a rebuild at Nebraska, Kearney, and win a playoff game against the team up north here, and then to go to West Texas and then come back. It's exciting, and it's also exciting to see your influence on him, as far as him making it a point to spend time fundraising, to spend his precious time away from the X's and O's and with the players, to growing the resources for the program, which brings us to this homage, this way that he, one of his 5 paws is honor, right? And so he's honored you by naming the golf tournament after him. What did he call you and ask for his permission, or did he just do it? Like, how'd that conversation go?
Well, he asked to do that, but I said I don't want any association with my ability at golf to resemble, the quality of that golf tournament, because I am a horrible golfer. Okay, so be careful by using my name associated with golf, because there's some people out there that will laugh at that. Unfortunately,
a 3D archery tournament might not be as big of a draw for fundraising purposes. So when he was going through his interview process, he had talked about, we're going to do the golf tournament, we're going to do the banquet. He had laid these things out, and then to watch him, he's a worker, and to watch him make those things happen, to get people that haven't been here in a long time on the campus, and to do the homage to you, but also leverage this family that we have. That was an exciting thing for me to see him do.
Well, it is. It's a great hire. I'm such a Coach Gallas fan, and of course, then his wife was on our rodeo team at Eastern New Mexico, so I know Haley very well, and very proud of her, and she's a wonderful young woman, and so proud of it. What a great hire for Adams State. I really look for things to really take off. We got to give him some help, though, and so I plead.
His deal with the we, the us, the our. He had talked about that. I bought into it, and when people said, "Hey, do you think Levi can do it?" and my conversation has changed. It's not a Levi thing; it's a we thing. This is all of us. We got to talk to our nephews that are graduating high school that got some skills. We got to throw $1 or $2. We got to participate in some golf tournaments and spend some time back here in Alamosa, come and reunite and spending some time together, and I'm excited as well.
Well, my wife and I, we do a small part. I mean, we have the Brody Geiser Scholarship. I wish we could do one. We do $1,000 every semester to a San Luis Valley, preferable student athlete, and we wish we could do more. Again, keep playing that lotto.
Keep playing that lotto. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
About Brody?
The scholarship, And
we wanted to do something to honor Brody. Brody grew up at Adams State. I mean, he was adopted. Both my children were adopted, and we adopted Brody when he was a month old in Denver, and Nancy and I, and then, of course, he grew up around Adams State. I mean, God, when he's just a little boy, he's over there at football practice, and as he gets older, he's managing, and he's out on the practice field in the golf cart delivering water to the players, driving the golf cart around, and then he graduates where he's on the sidelines as ball boy with his buddies, and so he grew up around Adams State football. And then when he graduated from Alamosa High School, he enlisted in the Navy and was a cryptotech in the United States Navy aboard the USS Essex, which is a Marine carrier, and cryptology is all about codes, and he was really good with computers. I mean, God, he was just a computer nut ever since he was a little boy, and so that was right up his alley. And unfortunately, he was injured in the Navy toward the end of his term, and the doctors in the Navy put him on oxycodone, and he developed a need for heroin. And that's what eventually led to his demise here in Alamosa. And so proud of him, disappointed that some of his decisions weren't the best toward the end of his life. But we honor Brody every year by the Brody Geiser Scholarship, by giving scholarships to football players, preferably from the San Luis Valley, Alamosa High School, if we could. and helping them with their education.
Well, that's it's extremely generous. I wish it wasn't a tragedy that had brought it down. I'm very sorry for your loss and thankful for your son's service. This is a sacrifice that those folks make, and so thank you for your son's service. Thank you for that contribution. But on behalf of, and I'll speak for the rest of Adams State alumni, those that have been around the program, that you've had such a big influence on, thank you so much for the things that you've done for Adams State football, all across the board, from the fundraising, the coaching, the athletic director to work. It's given me and a lot of my teammates the opportunity to come here and have a extremely rich experience, and I thank you so much for telling your story, and so we can get it out there and get the gears turning and get the emotions stirring in so many of the lives that you've touched over the years. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. I really do. It means a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Geiser.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around all the way to the end of this episode of the Adams State Football Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you get a chance, check out the show notes. That's where you can sign up for the newsletter, find links to different social medias so that you can follow along, like Twitter or X, Facebook, Instagram. Check out the AdamStateGrizzlies.com so that you can take a look at the schedule, start figuring out which game it is that you're going to come back to Alamosa to check out or catch one on the road. Thanks again.